Hello, we're just waiting for everyone to sort of get into the room. You're all very welcome. Hopefully you can all see and hear me. My name is Colette Cohen. I'm the CEO of OGTC, and we're delighted to be hosting the inaugural Ideas Club. And over the next sort of 5 or 10 minutes, you're going to hear quite a bit about what the Ideas Club is. So I'm not going to spend too much time on that. I'm going to maybe just sort of get you thinking about why you're here today, and maybe also why some of your friends should be here and maybe aren't here yet with us. And so this is, as I say, just the inaugural. So it's the start of a journey that we're on. I want us to think about why you should care about having something like this and what you can ultimately do. So we run a TechX Pioneers program in the Oil and Gas Technology Centre. We're in our 3rd cohort. It's a very successful program, and you'll probably hear more about that as we go through. But during the application process, we identified that we didn't get very many female founders or very many female co-founders coming forward. So a real lack of female entrepreneurs, which worried us greatly, because we thought it was actually just us, and we thought maybe oil and gas in general. But we did a bit of research and discovered actually female founders are relatively rare. We've only got about 8% female founders in the UK and around Europe. It varies a little, but ultimately it's low. In fairness, in oil and gas, that's kind of representative of about how many women there are in the industry. So we already start from a bit of a gap. But all the data indicates that those organizations and companies that are successful and run by a diverse workforce and a diverse leadership team and led by women are more successful, more revenue generative, more balanced than other companies. So we decided that there needed to be something done to try and make a difference. How could we attract women into the entrepreneurial space? And actually one of the first things we learned was the word entrepreneurial isn't attractive to women. Technology isn't attractive to women. Engineering, all these sort of words become barriers to why people believe in their idea or are willing to set up a business. So we brought together a crowd of women and said, why did you start your business? And a crowd of women of why didn't you start a business? Women who maybe were leading businesses for other industries or other companies, being paid by somebody else to run their business rather than following their own ideas or their own beliefs. And a number of things came out, and you'll hear probably about some of that journey today, about how we ended up at an Ideas Club. But one of the biggest things that came out was that ultimately women needed, in particular, and I'm sure there's an element of this across the board, but in particular, to de-risk their idea, to build their understanding of their idea, to build their belief in their idea. And that we needed to create an environment where they could come and have that safe conversation, where they could start working on their idea. They could unpick it, discuss it with others in a safe environment, and that they could also maybe learn some of the skills that they would need to start up a business or believe in that business. And we also realized as a result that there was a need for the next generation of accelerator, which is really one of the things that will lead on from this specific Ideas Club, where we're going to try and create the right virtual, flexible environment to really bring female entrepreneurs on. So that kind of sets a scene for you. I'm asking you sort of turn around and say, well, what can you do? Milton Berle once said, if opportunity doesn't knock, build a door. I would suggest that this Ideas Club is that door. We're building that door for you to walk through, an opportunity for you to come in and learn, an opportunity for you to build your network, to make friends, but also to meet mentors, meet guides, be inspired, and really give yourself a chance of maybe following a dream that you've always had. So this is your door. Don't just knock on it. Knock it down. Come on in and have some fun. David, I'll hand over to you.
Thanks very much, Colette. And may I also add a very warm welcome to our very first TechX Ideas Club. It's a really exciting day for us and hopefully for you as well. My name is David Miller. I'm the TechX Director at the OGTC. And just before we get started, we've got a little bit of housekeeping for you. We've got our first task of the day for you to complete, a little test of your Zoom skills. So if you hover over your picture on Zoom, you should get 3 little dots up here in the top right-hand corner. If you click on that and go to rename, we're going to ask you to put a little number against your name just to help us identify on the call who's maybe joining without an idea but keen to find one, those that have an idea, those that maybe have a startup already, or those that are just looking to join somebody else and help them on their journey and move them forward. So if you could please select one of those that's most appropriate for you and add it after your name, that would be great. For those that are support partners or OGTC colleagues, you don't need to carry this out, but feel free to add in OGTC or partner at the end of your name as well. So if we could ask you all to take a couple of minutes to do that, that would be great. And also please feel free to use the chat function. If you've got any pointers, questions or statements to make, please use the chat function. We'll get a chance to obviously to answer them throughout the day. And you'll also get a chance at the end to provide some feedback on the call as well to make sure that these continue to add value and have impact for the people that are joining it. So thanks very much. And next slide, please, Hannah. So our industry is in transition as it looks towards low carbon and a net zero future. And over the next 30 years, we have a number of critical technology gaps that we need to fill in order to deliver net zero. These are detailed in our recent Closing the Gap report, which is available on our website. We'll share a link with you in the chat function. But in order to fill these, we need a bigger pipeline of tech startups. We need to supercharge the entrepreneurial support ecosystem, but not just any startups. We need high-performing startups with diversity at their core. And this is why all of you are here today, and this is why we've set up the Ideas Club. As Colette said, being diverse in the energy sector is not an easy task. And instead, we formed a task force to help us try and understand what we could do to change that. And under the task force, we identified 4 core areas that we wanted to address in building additional support under our TechX framework. Next slide, Hannah, please. So these were covering areas such as how can we help people to reduce risk and build more confidence? How can we make our role models more visible? How can we provide more support in terms of funding and investor readiness? And what can we do with our programs to make sure that they continue to be high impact, but are much more flexible than some of the ones that we currently offer at the moment? So that was our remit as part of the task force, which has now led us to identify 2 new initiatives, the first of which is our Ideas Club, which we're launching today. The Ideas Club is designed to be a safe and supportive community. This can help you to create ideas, to nurture those and grow them into world-class tech startups. We will also be adding an additional accelerator offering later in 2021, which will be called TechX Unlimited. And this will be based on our current award-winning Pioneer program that will have all of the funding and the impact, but with much more added flexibility. Our goal here is to give you all the support you need at all stages of your journey, from pre-idea to startup, through to growth and scale up. And you won't find such a comprehensive level of support anywhere else. We want to help you unlock your full potential so that you can help us to deliver the net zero future that we need. So to tell you a little bit more about what is in it for you in terms of the Ideas Club, I'm delighted to hand over to Charlene, who's the project manager for the Ideas Club, who's going to talk to you a little bit more about the program itself. So Charlene, over to you.
Thanks, David, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being curious enough to join our first ever Ideas Club event. As David said, I'm Charlene and part of the delivery team for the TechX Ideas Club. I'm personally really excited about this initiative. I feel like right here today, we're at the start of an important turning point for the energy tech sector. David just talked us through the purpose of the Ideas Club, but you might still be asking yourself, that sounds great, but what's in it for me? By nature, I am admittedly a little dramatic, and my colleagues will vouch for that, but I'd like to put a spin on a powerful quote that came to mind when I first started working on the Ideas Club initiative. One small step for women, one giant leap for our industry. The Ideas Club is designed to be that first step. This is not just another online event. This is the start of a creative and supportive community that will help deliver the technology we need for our net zero future. To get us there and underpinning all of this are innovative technology ideas. You'll not be alone on this exciting journey. Like today, we'll meet virtually. You will hear from inspirational speakers and role models who will inspire you and teach you new things. By joining the monthly clubs, events and workshops, you will gain free advice and make valuable business connections. The Ideas Club will help you grow your network with a community of like-minded individuals. We will connect you with a broad range of expert mentors who will help you to develop your skills, team, technology, and your business. Both our mentors and the award-winning TechX team will help to validate and de-risk your ideas in a collaborative space. You will learn about the challenges we face in our pursuit of net zero and ultimately the technology solutions we urgently need to deploy to get us there. You will gain deep market access across a thriving ecosystem. We have an established ecosystem of supporting partners ready for you to tap into. They will provide valuable advice and guidance. On screen now, you'll see some of our partners, and this list is growing all the time. There is a real buzz and enthusiasm out there to get behind the Ideas Club and ultimately to get behind innovative technology ideas. The Ideas Club is your pathway to success. When we're not collaborating on the monthly club events, we will still be supporting you. We're excited to launch a private Ideas Club forum. And at this point, I'd like to invite TechX Delivery Lead and one of the original founders of the task force, Natalie, to share with you our vision and purpose behind that community. Natalie.
Thanks, Charlene. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalie Lucy, and I am the TechX Delivery Lead. So as Charlene said, as well as our monthly events, the Ideas Club online community will be a great opportunity to continue the conversations you've already had and build those relationships. With access to a private LinkedIn group, members will be able to share content and articles of interest, join discussion forums, build on your ideas, get advice and input from your fellow members, as well as support from the TechX team on how to progress your business and your ideas. We will have video interviews with mentors and companies who have been exactly where you are today, picking inspirational business leaders at all stages of their business journey. For early stage ideas building, being able to validate your ideas in a supportive environment, working alongside like-minded people or those experienced with assisting startup companies is incredibly helpful. To get the most out of the Ideas Club, we believe having access to this community will prove invaluable and take the learnings from each event and turn it into a reality. The TechX team will be on hand to offer input and advice, as well as give you exclusive updates on future programs, applications and events, and also to link you in with the amazing entrepreneurial ecosystem that we have. Following today's event, we'll be sending out further information on how to join the club and get started. We are really excited to offer this in addition to what's set to be an amazing series of events, and we really look forward to getting to know you all over the coming months. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Natalie. I can't wait to see this grow and develop over the coming months. Are you all intrigued? Well, I hope so. I did promise earlier that we would connect you with inspirational mentors and speakers, and today is no different. I would like to invite our all-female panel to introduce themselves. Each one of these ladies have been supporting the Ideas Club in the background for a while now. They're all Ideas Club mentors, and we can't thank them enough for all their support and guidance. We're very excited to have you all involved. Deborah, I'd like to come to you first. Please can you share with the club who you are, what you do and why you wanted to get involved in the initiative?
Absolutely, thanks Charlene, and yeah, good afternoon everybody. So I'm Deborah O'Neill, I'm the founder and CEO of Novabiotics, not an energy business, but certainly a tech business. We are in the life science sector, so Novabiotics is a medicines discovery and development company, but I think there are so many complete parallels to my sector and any other tech business. So I absolutely want to encourage more female founded, innovative tech businesses to grow and flourish. It's absolutely what our local economy needs and certainly the broader economy. So very excited to be part of this, and I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody's ideas as this progresses and doing what I can to help those along and encourage. Thank you.
Thanks, Deborah. Elaine, I'd like to come to you next, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to see everybody on board. Yeah, I'm Elaine Galston, the CEO of Tubular Sciences, which is a company focused in oil and gas. We're a spin out from a company that I took from ideas through commercialisation into exit in 2016 with Schlumberger. And this spin out idea actually got involved with the very first TechX cohort, which was a fantastic opportunity for us and has really helped us we're at sort of later stage Series A funding at the moment. I've been involved with small businesses for about 20 years. I've seen it from taking an idea through to commercialisation and the exit. I do a lot of mentoring for companies in a whole range of industries. And I am also an angel in the Scotland's only female-led angel group. I've also got some ideas myself right now for other businesses, and even having this experience, I know how daunting it is, how terrifying and overwhelming starting a business can be. So initiatives like this and TechX and the work that OGTC and other panel members and supporting organisations do is absolutely critical. So really excited to be on board, and hopefully I'll get to speak to a few of you a wee bit more just shortly. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Elaine. Jeanette, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First full power of the day. Welcome to this initiative on behalf of TechX and in particular OGTC. My name is Jeanette Forbes and I am currently CEO of Blue Gen 2. I stepped out of my businesses in order to run an initiative that I came across a few years ago with regards to working in the energy sector, where I've predominantly worked for the majority of my career. I decided that I wanted to take an initiative forward and to deliver a technology that will save on chemical injections to the environment, obviously within the industry, and that's what we're working on just at the moment. I'm super excited about this initiative. I think that it's been a long time that I've stood with other women alone in this sector, and I think it's about time we had more female colleagues to shoulder. Thank you.
Brilliant, thank you. And Suzanne, over to you.
Thank you very much. I'm Suzanne True. I don't actually currently work in a tech industry. Instead, I'm the co-founder of an international management consulting business focused on innovation and innovation capability. And my co-founder is also women. We both did chemical engineering many years ago at Edinburgh University and went our separate ways, only to come back together to form our business, very much focused on helping organizations thrive by being better at innovation. And when I heard Colette speaking earlier about, actually breaking down doors, I couldn't be more excited, because everything that the Ideas Club is doing in terms of helping entrepreneurs through that really sticky beginning, where things can feel very uncertain, anything that can be helpful at that stage in terms of community guidance, advice, best practice from other organizations, really has to be a wonderful thing to be involved in. So it's a pleasure to be here. And as we're going to go on and talk to Danielle, or with Danielle, the other bit of information is that Danielle and I have worked together over many years, and some of the techniques she's using and talking about today, I've been putting into practice, so it'll be very exciting to share my experience.
Thank you, Suzanne, and thanks to all our mentors. You will all get the opportunity to network and interact with the panel a little later, specifically in the breakout sessions. It's now my great pleasure to invite our first ever Ideas Club speaker to take over. Danielle Macleod, co-founder of Remarkable Women, is a true inspiration. I have met Danielle a few times now, and every single time we talk, I feel motivated to achieve something. You bring so much energy to every conversation, and I'm sure today will be no different. Danielle, over to you.
Always like to start with an over expectation. So can we take the share screen off, just so that I've got my my big face on for you all to see. So welcome everybody, and I'm really thrilled to be with you today. As everybody else has said, this is such important work, and I don't have any high-tech ways of introducing myself. In fact, one of the things we do at Remarkable Women is play to our strengths. So here's me introducing me, and I'm hoping that you can read this. So I think it's important that you know Remarkable Women is my second business, and unlike Elaine, who took hers through to sale, ours folded horrifically first time. And I remember actually being with, when we were looking for VC, which we did get in our first business, going to see a venture capitalist one day, and he said to me and my husband, come back when you've failed. Come back when you failed. And I thought it was a terrible thing to say. And he said, you two are brilliant. Your idea is brilliant. He said, and I can see that you're not ready yet. He said, so fail at it and then come back. And if you want to go again, I'll give you my money. And he was a very wise man, because we did not go again. However, many years later, I am now co-founder of a second business, and we're in year 5 now. So I'd say we're in pretty healthy shape, and things are going really well. So I want you to know that whatever I bring to you today comes from the perspective of somebody who doesn't think it's all unicorns and rainbows, who knows what it's like to have a business be tough, and who also knows what it's like in a second round to have things run slightly differently. And I also want to say, I'm a great believer in a wonderful little book out there called Steal Like an Artist by an illustrator called Austin Kleon. And essentially what he says is that there are 2 ways to steal in the world. You can steal like a thief, or you can steal like an artist. And what he says an artist does is go out into the world and gather inspiration from loads of other artists and bring that together to create their own unique piece of work. And so we're great believers in stealing like an artist at Remarkable Women, and I invite you today to listen for what is useful for you. I'm not here to tell you the right way. My job and the job of Remarkable Women is to inspire you into bolder action than you might do on your own, and to make it easier for you than you might be able to imagine otherwise. And so take what's useful for you, discard what's not. Who knows, it might come back to you another day. But I want to share with you a couple of really simple concepts today that have changed the way we run our business and are core to what we teach the women who come into our world. And exactly as Colette was saying, and others have said this morning, we work with women, also with men actually behind the scenes, but our public programs are for women only. And our work came from a piece of research that showed us that women want to de-risk their lives, actually. So that they wanted to have a high impact, that they wanted to make a difference, but actually didn't want the perceived cost that might come with that. They didn't want to blow all their money. They didn't want to risk their relationships. They didn't want to risk their health. And so our work is around how can we inspire women into bolder action than they might ever have imagined before, but to make it easier than they might have thought it could be. And that's where we're going to go today. And for the last couple of months, to add to this wonderful mix, we've been interviewing many female entrepreneurs for a series called Stand on My Shoulders, which is essentially about me speaking to women entrepreneurs, and I'm hoping some of the panel would join us afterwards for part of that series, to ask them to share their wisdom with entrepreneurs who are coming after them. And I was really lucky a couple of weeks ago to spend some time with a brilliant Canadian woman called Vicky Saunders, who runs an organisation called CEO. And it's the first female perpetual investment fund in the world for women who are working on the UN 17 goals. And they have this very radical approach to investment. And she said, actually, we have no idea whether your business is going to succeed or not. She said, not a clue. And there's no point us pretending that we do. But when you come to us and you look for investment, we ask you to answer 2 questions. Why you? And why now? Why you and why now? And I thought she was kidding until I went to look onto their application form, and they ask 10 questions, and not one of them reads like any question from an investment company I've ever seen. But it's really clear that what they care about is that the people they are buying into are passionate about what they do, and that the time is right for the thing they want to create. And so today I want to introduce you to the idea of having a North Star, and I want to give you some concepts that will work with that. But it simply comes from a little quote we've got here. It's not mine. I don't know who it's from, but I've stolen it like an artist, and I would attribute it to them if I could. And it says this: there are no unrealistic goals. There are only unrealistic deadlines. No unrealistic goals, only unrealistic deadlines. And I'm guessing, I'm going to call on Jeanette, I'm going to call in the panel as I see them to just come and share with me for a minute. But I remember in our first business, we kind of believed that we were going to have it all nailed in like year 3, maybe year 4. And every woman I've spoken to in Stand on My Shoulders, when I've said to them, what would you tell yourself in year 3, has said a version of this: it's going to take longer than you think. And Jeanette, would you just come on for a minute and tell me whether that resonates with you at all as a female entrepreneur?
Well, having run pre-CL Group for 20 years, yes, indeed it does. It's been a very long journey, and I'm only at the point now that I'm still winding down the clock, so to speak, towards retirement. But at the same time, I have to make sure that I've got succession to continue on my hard work. And I think that's kind of where you've got to start putting yourself. And it's really difficult as an entrepreneur that's been around for a long time to let go. And of course, sometimes you have to do this because you see better initiatives that need your help to get them started on their journey. And that's where I've, that's why I've stepped into Blue Gen 2, because I do believe that they have a product that will be transformational to the energy sector, or the tech energy, or energy tech, or whichever way you want to put it these days. I do think that we are transitioning, but at the same time, I need to make sure that I leave a legacy. And that legacy, as I'm coming out, is for other women to come in. And that's a really important key for me.
Thank you for sharing that, because one of the concepts I'm going to talk to you later is about getting on a path to reveal the path. So it's so lovely that what you said there was there comes a point where you see something else and you want to move over to that. And actually our work with you today, and what I'm going to teach you, is that I can't know your destination, you can't either. But our invitation all the time is to keep moving forward, to keep taking steps, to get on different paths so that other paths can make themselves clear. And so it's a really beautiful that Jeanette didn't even know I was going to talk about that she talks about a 20-year journey and then says, I've come off the path to take on another opportunity that's greater. And so that's actually in its essence what the North Star is all about. If you think about having a North Star, then it's very much about, I can't tell you how to get to a North Star. It's a thing I look up at in the sky and say, I'm broadly heading in that direction. And so I want to introduce you today to building a dream that is so big you can't imagine how you're going to get there. And then I'm going to give you some small steps to enable you to get there. And I'm going to tell two stories that fit in with that, and then I'll draw in another member of the panel to come and help and share their reflections. The first is, I was customer service director at Sky. I worked at Sky for about 12 years in between the first business and the second one. And my mentor was the chief operating officer, and we were good friends, and I'd set up our business and we met for breakfast in Edinburgh. And he said, how are things going? And I said, I'm also exploring whether I want to look at politics again. I'd done my first degree in politics. It was always my intention to go into politics. And I said to him, when I was young, I was really sure that I was going to be Prime Minister. And he choked on his breakfast. I've never seen anything like it. He literally spat his food out. And he said, Danielle, don't be ridiculous. Of course, you're not going to be Prime Minister. And I think he thought, because of the work that I do in the world, which of course is teaching people how to raise their impact, and it's a lot of coaching and development, that I think he thought I believed I could get on the election ballot for the next election. But I didn't mean that at all. What I said to him was, and it was Theresa May who was Prime Minister at the time, I said, Chris, Theresa May's 22 years older than me. Are you telling me that if I gave 22 years of my life to politics, I couldn't make it to Prime Minister? And he kind of looked at me and he said, oh, I suppose you could. Now, as it happens, I got on a path with that one and decided very much against it, but it was a useful journey for me to explore. But a couple of months later, I had signed up to work with one of the world's leading coaches. He's a Brit based in LA, and I had spent an obscene amount of money to work with him on the basis that I believed he would help us take our business to the next level. And I was well and truly hacked off. I'd had a couple of sessions with him. Things weren't going as fast as I wanted them to. And so I walked in, we were on Zoom. I came on to my session and I said, Rich, I don't want you to coach me today. I just want you to tell me what to do. I'm a really smart woman. You've got the keys. Tell me how they work and I will go away and do them. And he looked at me and he laughed, as you would expect any good coach to do. And he said, Danielle, what do you want? What do you want to create with your business? And I said, I want a movement of remarkable women, and I want 10,000 leaders changing organizations from the inside, and I want them to change the world. Nothing small, right? And so he smiled at me and he said this, let's go 25 years into the future. You and me, we've met for coffee, and you've done it. He said, we're looking out into the world, and there's a movement of remarkable women changing the world, and there are 10,000 leaders changing organizations from the inside. Is that enough for you? And I said, yes, it is. Although afterwards I changed my mind because I got 25 years. So I upped it to 50,000. I said, yes, it is, Rich. And he said, great. then all I'm going to tell you is this. I'm going to get to this technique in a minute. 90 days is 1% of 25 years. 90 days is 1% of 25 years. Can you go away and tell me what you're going to do to move your business forward by 1% in the next 90 days to get you closer to that dream? I'll be honest and say I thought it was a terrible idea, but I paid a lot of money. So I thought, right, okay, I'll go away and I'll work out what I'm going to do in the next 90 days that will take me 1% closer. And before I tell you what I did, let me draw in, who have I got? Let me draw in Deborah. When I talk about having a 25-year goal or a dream that's so big that you can't imagine how you're going to get there, what does that bring up for you as a leader of a business now?
Probably everything I do in day-to-day life. So it's amazing being in my sector. Everything is, the timelines are so long, and you absolutely have to have that mindset of, this is what I want to do. I do want to change the world. I want new medicines to, impact not just healthcare, but as a certain pandemic has taught us, the whole socio-economic landscape as well, because of the impact, that disease can cause globally. That's the North Star. That's what you want to do. But to get to that, to build the business that's viable, and just to throw something else in my sector, a business that will be pre-revenue for probably a good couple of decades anyway, that 25-year horizon isn't that long. So I think it's having that mindset, and I'm not a patient person, and having to accept, but as you're going to talk about, it's those immediate and midterm goals that you have to focus on to eventually get there. And you absolutely have to love what you do, because you are talking long time scales, and you have to get that mindset of thinking far into the future. But those wins as you go along and how you'll progress are important as well. And as probably the one mentor that I've had since starting the business said, it's about the destination, but you may not get there. Really enjoy the journey, love it, and learn from it as well.
And so you're waking up every morning and going, right, I know where we're heading, and I know I've got to hold my nerve for 20 years, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that must take some incredible work on your mind, does it? How do you manage that in your head?
It's focusing on almost the day-to-day stuff. So those incremental steps that push you forward in that kind of journey and the quick wins that are needed. So for us, it's it's data, it's a clinical trial, and even though you've got 3 more clinical trials that you might have to do, it's the fact that you have made a difference, you have had success, capitalize on that and move forward. So it's not that nothing's going to happen for 20 years. Lots and lots of things will happen and things will move forward. And it's taking all of those things together, occasionally just standing back and looking at what you've actually achieved, even though you may be 1, 2, 3% in that kind of 20-25 year journey, and building on that and focusing on the wins and the positives and what you've achieved as you go along. But again, that allows you to focus, but not ever really stopping dreaming big, as you say. And all of the successes, everything that you do, everything that you learn, that is really going into that whole kind of North Star vision as well. So don't be tempted to stop, when you do have successes, just use it, build on it, and think, well, if I've done this, I could even go further.
Yeah, I love that. Exactly that. And I just, everything you're saying there is so resonant, because I think we're brought up to be impatient, and as entrepreneurs, we're big ideas people, and we want to see the idea manifested into the world. But actually, there's something really interesting about saying, how long am I willing to be in this game for? And how committed am I to what it is I want to create? And I think the reason when David came to me and said, would you speak, I wanted to do this North Star piece with you, is I think it's much easier to get up on the tough days when you're shooting for something spectacular. And I also think it's easier when you know you don't have to do that tomorrow. You have to continue to build incremental gains in order to get to the really big thing that wants to change the game for you. And so when I think back to our first business, let me be really honest with you, I wasn't excited by the business. I was excited by a concept that had the potential to make us a lot of money. I was really excited by that. And I actually think at its heart, that's why that business failed. Because I look at our business now, and even in a time of pandemic where we had a couple of rocky months at the beginning, Suzanne knows all about that because she was part of those conversations with me. I woke up every morning and I thought, do I want a world where there are more remarkable women having a bigger impact? Yes, I do. And so if we have to lose this quarter, it's okay. Because I signed up for a much longer game here. And so I'm really glad I chose you, Deborah, because that's a long mission that you've taken on there, and it's clearly long. You know, there's no way to make that shorter, right? Thank you. So here's what I want to say about that mission, and Deborah built on that so beautifully for me. This thing, this North Star, this mission, this dream, for me, it's powerful when it's something you can imagine doing for a really long time. It's something that you can imagine waking up each morning and going, yeah, I do want to keep working on that. I feel so strongly about this that I want to keep working on it. And that it's something that excites you and that matters to you. And so when David asked me to get involved in the OGTC and we're talking about net carbon, all the rest of it, I'm like, yeah, that matters. Like, I want to help people show up in this space. Because this really, it's not my specialty, but whatever I can do to help women and men put their brilliant ideas into the world so that we can all experience change. Of course, that's important to me. And so I'm doing work that enables me to provide rocket fuel to anybody who needs it, who wants to do something that will really make a difference. And so you want to know that it's worth it. You want to know that on the days you wake up and you think, I just don't know if I've got the steam for this anymore, you can look up at the North Star and go, no, it's okay. I might be having a rough day today. This might not be one of my best days, but I still know where I'm going. I still know the direction I'm heading in. And so my invitation to you after today, even if you've got a business actually, and the guy who teaches this method, his name's Dan Sullivan. He runs a business called Strategic Coach. I don't love all of their work, but this one is one of my favorites. He's in his 70s and he's written a book on how he's going to live to be 156, I think it's called. And he's just finishing his second 25-year plan and genuinely starting up on his third, right? And so when you see someone like that who's like, he says, I want to wake up every day and do something that inspires me. And I want to know that what I'm doing makes a difference. And so often people will come to me and go, oh, maybe I'm too old. And I'm like, well, have a 25-year plan for the rest of your life. Like, what is it you want to create? And then see what opportunities present themselves to you. So let's move on to, so the idea is after today, if you haven't done it already, go and think about what might my North Star be. But I'm going to say up front, and I'll draw Suzanne in later, you may not see that straight away. I journaled on mine for quite a long time before I got clear on it and started to shape it up. It's always broadly been in this space of allowing individuals to release their potential. But when I talk about people releasing their potential, what I mean is I don't think we've even tapped into it. So if you look at the work that some of you guys want to do on changing how we deal with fuel and all the rest of it, human potential is massive. We've put people on the moon. We've cured incurable diseases. We're about to cure another one, hopefully at some point. So when I talk about you releasing your potential, I'm like, who could you be if you got out of your own way and attached yourself to a mission that felt so important to you that you were compelled to keep going with it? But if you don't get it today and you don't get it over the next few weeks, it doesn't matter. It's not going to change the fact that this next technique is going to be super useful for you anyway. So let's talk about this 1% thing. Let's talk about what it means to break things down into 90-day chunks and what that means. And the quote I've got there, in case you can't read it, is the more things you put on your list to do in a quarter, the more time will speed up and the less you will achieve. The more things you put on your list to do in a quarter, the more time will speed up and the less you will achieve. So what happens for me is every quarter, it's written in the journal for me, I know when each of my percentages is coming to an end, and at about day 80, I'm sitting with, and what are we going to do in the next quarter, which I know is super unusual. And I want you to know I come from a big corporate background where all the quarters are designed forever. And I like the ability, and I think it's important for entrepreneurs to have the ability to be agile, to say, I have been doing this for a while and now I can see something that I couldn't see before, like Jeanette said earlier. I can see something different now, and therefore I want to be able to respond to it. And so for me, it's useful at about day 80 to be saying, right, what's next? And to give you context, I'm just about to enter 10% of our 25-year plan, although we've been going for longer than that. So when Rich asked me, what's the one thing you can do that will move your business 1% closer to this dream? I came back with an answer that really surprised me, and may or may not make sense to you. So I came back and I said, Rich, I'm going to finish my book. Which kind of makes no sense in terms of running a business and creating revenue and all the rest of it. And he said, what do you mean you're going to finish your book? And I said, I've got a book. You'd think I'd have a copy here to show you. I do not. It's over there. I've got a book and it's my third half-written book. It's my third half-written book. And I'm ready to write the fourth book, which I think is probably the most important piece of work I'm ever going to write. And if I don't finish this one, that book will be my fourth half-written book because I have no idea how to finish one. So in the next 90 days, I will finish my book and I'll have it in the hands of my editor. And all I did was show up for an hour every day. 1 hour every day. I gave my attention to the painful process of tidying up a book that was pretty much complete. And it was in the hands of my editor within actually 60 days. And the second percent was to put it out into the world. And I didn't know what that was going to create. But of course, what I've seen 2 years later is that book does work for me. It does work for me. It brings clients to me. It has people invite me to speak at events. It acts as this really, really powerful business card. And so whilst it didn't seem to be the thing that would move the business forward in the most clear way, actually it was pivotal. And over the percentages that have followed, we've done all kinds of things. In some, we've launched new programs. In some, we've strengthened our IT and our development platform. In others, we've worked on our branding. At the moment, the entrepreneur interview series that we're doing at the moment is my 9%. And again, that might sound really odd, but actually what I knew in this time of pandemic was I needed to fire up my diary with fascinating women who could inspire me. And so I dedicated 1 to 2 hours a week of interviewing women who had taken paths that I have not taken, so that they could share with me their wisdom and so that I could then share that with other women out into the world. And what I can tell you is that that 9% has been one of the most powerful 1% that I've taken on, because it has sparked off hundreds of other things just by virtue of those conversations. And so I don't know what those 1% are going to do. But I do know that every quarter when I sit down and say, what is one thing I am willing to commit to this month that will move us 1% closer, I always come up with something, and it's always pretty powerful for us. And my business partner is doing the same thing. So she has her 1%, and we also run a 1% for the business, right? So it doesn't just have to be yours. This applies for your teams. And what it does is it really enables you to get clear on, if nothing else gets done this quarter, this thing is going to happen. And Suzanne, I want to draw you in now if I can, because I know that you've taken a while with your North Star, and yet the 1% technique's been really powerful for you, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So my North Star is somewhere, but not as well defined as Danielle's, in the unlocking potential of organizations to work on the world's to-do list. I'm really excited by that whole concept of that I may not be an expert in any one of the technologies, or I do have skills in facilitation and in knowledge about innovation that can be applied, but it's not totally tight, and I keep refining it. However, the 1% over the last few years has been really invaluable. And when COVID came in, for example, so we've now, this is my second, I realized that I needed a new additional skill set. The first of those quarters around COVID was around how can I be a better online facilitator. And so I then went out and found every training course I could on facilitating online, learning about the functionality of Zoom and all of the things that would be required in order to help me help others better. And then this quarter, the whole concept of visual collaboration, sketchnoting, which is an additional skill, again, to help facilitate and help others, I've been doing as a daily practice, and literally, as Danielle says, ticking it off. So with Danielle's help, I liked always doing things visually. So I actually draw 90 bubbles on a big piece of paper and literally colour them in or tick them off, and make it actually a very fun exercise. This doesn't need to be, oh God, it's another thing to do. It's something which is life affirming towards your bigger goal, whatever that is. So me drawing little pictures and learning new techniques, I know will unfold over the next 25 years and make me much better at helping people with what I want to help them with.
I love that. I know, of course, because Suzanne's in our world, what I know is as soon as Suzanne starts to pick up these skills, all of a sudden there were other women in our community who are working in all kinds of big businesses going, hang on a minute, can you teach me? Can I have a piece of that? And so you could see that it would have been really easy to down tools for a little while and to try to bury ahead in strategy. And of course, our encouragement with the 1% is do something that energizes you, something that you know is going to be one way or another impactful for your business and is also going to, you're going to enjoy it. Because if we're going to be in this game for 25 years, I want to have fun with it. And that's really, really critical. And also to the point that Deborah actually mentioned earlier, I really want to talk about this to you, which is the power of course corrections. The thing that's so beautiful about the 1% technique and how it works is that it doesn't really matter too much in a 25-year plan if 1% doesn't go to plan. Let me say that again. It doesn't really matter too much in a 25-year plan if 1% doesn't go to plan. But it really matters when you're working on very short-term timescales and where everything feels as it can do in the early stages of a business, like it's all critical now. And so there's a permission you can allow yourselves with a 1% to say, oh, that didn't quite work out the way we thought it would, or actually we got halfway down the line with this percent and it turned out to not be the thing that we thought it was going to be. And that's one of the beauties of it, is you go, well, great, I have 99 more to play with. I have 99 more to play with. And so often what we see when people come to us and we work with them on mission, or we work with them on how do you create simple actions to move forward, is people can get stuck in the overwhelm of, I've got this massive thing to create and I should have it now, shouldn't I? And I think it's one of the biggest challenges of an entrepreneur. Like, I've got this massive thing to create and I can see it, so I should be able to do these 3 things and then it should happen. And of course it never ever plays through like that. And if this year was anything to go by, we've all learned there's no such thing as certainty if we didn't know it already, right? That many of our plans have been thrown out the window and we've had to rethink. And the beauty of simply sitting down every 90 days and saying, right, what's the one thing? What's the one thing that if we did that, everything else would matter less? Enables you to put your attention and your clarity and your focus on something powerful instead of all the things. And I want to say that again, instead of all the things. Because whilst I said at the beginning, the thing that probably took our business down the first time was that we were pointed towards making a lot of money. For about 5 years, my husband and I used to sit in the car and one of us would go, do you know what the most stupid thing was we did? Do you know what the most stupid thing was we did? And every time we opened our mouth, we would say a different thing. We would say a different thing every single time, because actually we were 2 people with a business that was far too big at its early stages. The idea was too good. Who would have thought that could be a thing? The idea was too good, and we took on everything. We took on everything, and we were not capable of doing everything. And so I look back on that business now, compared to where we're at now, and I think, gosh, how different would it have been? And by the way, I want to say I'm really grateful that it didn't make it. It's not a business I would want to be in. How different would it have been had we been able to sit down every quarter and say, what's the one thing that if we did it in the next 90 days, everything else would become less relevant? What's the one thing that if we turned our attention to that, things would change? Elaine, can I bring you in now? And let's share with me for a little bit about your perspective as somebody running more than one business in your career, of short-term versus long-term goals, and how that played through for you, or how it plays through for you.
Yeah, and thanks for what you've said so far. It's been really, really inspirational and interesting, actually, and resonates quite a lot with the stuff that I'm doing just now, because as you say, I am running one business, but I am actively looking at other businesses. So at very early days, so you're running two things, as you say, the shorter and the longer term. And the current business we're in is actually very different from what you're saying. We can't have a 25-year strategy because we're private equity owned. We have about an 18-month strategy.
The pressures of VC, eh?
Yeah, completely different, and not necessarily the way I would want to run it. But yeah, certainly when you start something, everybody asks, you know, what is the end? What does it look like? And as you say, you feel like you have to rush towards that end, and that the idea that you have at the beginning has to be the idea you will end up with, and that's completely wrong. It will change, you know, a million times before you get there. And I think the one thing I'm not going to say just women, but especially women, I'm very involved obviously in the women's side of things just now, that fear of failure. And I think when you do just have a long-term strategy and not these shorter term goals, and you don't recognize what success isn't always, oh, you got your company at the end and you start making money and you're exiting it, you know, and everybody's applauding you for being fantastic. That's what your kind of top success is, but that's not going to happen overnight. And you do have to break it down. You have to break, because you are overwhelmed with information at the beginning. There are so many places that want to help you. Everybody's got an opinion. Absolutely. And it's not always positive. And it's hard. And you do have to listen to those opinions because it might change. But yeah, you do have to break it down. I completely agree with you. Not just breaking down your action plan, but breaking down your idea. And it's what I mentor a lot with. People come on, they've got these amazing ideas and they don't want to look at the bits that can be the stumbling blocks, whether it's the funding or have you actually spoken to your market, you know, and then you break those down again. And it can be this overwhelming amount of information and opinion that can stop you in your tracks. So you could have this amazing longer term idea, but like you say, it just falls away because you can't put the shorter term ideas in place or action plans in place and identify what success is. Success may just be, as you've exactly pointed out, you've achieved your whatever you've defined as your 1% is, and take it as success, because it's so important. If you continuously knock yourself, which I think we're prone to do, you won't get anywhere.
And actually, Elaine, I think that's so important, because when we're focused on something really big, then we miss the small wins along the way.
Yeah.
And actually, if I look back on 9% of achievement, we can make some big ticks there, but it doesn't always feel like it in the moment. And so something to chunk things up for you is really important as you go along. So you can go, well, tick that, we did it. And now we're moving on to the next thing. And I really, really loved what you were saying about how the plans change. And for anyone who's in early idea stage or even beyond, I mean, we're in year 5 and Suzanne's been with us broadly, I think 3 years, at least Suzanne, not since the very beginning, but not far off. We broadly look the same way, which shows that the North Star is pretty much holding strong for us, but we aren't doing all of the things we said we were going to do. And some of them have changed quite significantly. And so there's a that's why the North Star is powerful. She's like, I'm heading off in that direction, but I don't quite know the way there. You know, I've got to take my compass and I've got to see what happens. And actually, Vicky, who is this founder of the investment fund, she said to me, we ask you what you're going to spend your investment on. She said, but we don't look at it. And I laughed and I said, why not? And she said, because you won't spend it on that. I said, say more. And she said, there's no chance. She said, because the world will change, things will come towards you that will change, and you won't spend it on that. She said, so really we're looking to see, is it a why you and a why now? She said, but it's not important what you say you're going to spend that money on, because things will change. And so that requirement to say, I've got this thing and I'm heading in that direction. I've got small, achievable, bold goals to achieve right now, and somewhere in the middle, it's going to join up. It's a bit like you know, when they put up the new Forth Bridge, and you were like hoping it was going to meet in the right place. It's something like that, you know, the short-term 1% and then the North Star coming together. So I really love what you're saying there, and I'm hoping you're going to get to do a session on what it's like to have VC for these guys in future, because that's a biggie to play with, right?
Definitely.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. So here's what I want to say for those of you who are in idea stage or who are not even sure. I'm going to say this from today, like whether you know it or not, I'm going to invite you to start your 25-year mission with no idea what it's going to be because of this. Can you see it? And I want you to, because this is the beginning of anything you want from this moment, which sounds really bonkers, but it is, because today we've planted some ideas in your head and you're going to go away and think about them. And it doesn't matter. Your 1% could be, I'm going to shape up what my North Star is. Your 1% could be, I'm going to shape it up. Your 1% could be, I'm going to get my health on track so that I am fit and energetic and vital to step into this world. Your 1% could be, I'm going to make as many calls as I can with as many interesting people as I can to shape up my ideas and to think differently. It doesn't have to be, I'm going to put this platform in, I'm going to launch a business, whatever it is. But I'm going to invite you from today, because you're here for a reason, to start to get your head around what's the one thing that I could do in the next 90 days that would feel energizing and purposeful, and that might really make a difference. And at the end of those 90 days might have me feel that was 90 days well spent. And it can be about you, it can be about your idea. It can even be about where you are right now, even if that's not where you want to be. My last year at Sky, I was at Sky for 12 years. And I knew there would come a point where I would be ready to go, that my values and the business values would diverge a little bit. I kind of got to a place where I thought, how much money does a Premier League footballer need to earn? It was clear to me that I wanted to leave that business while I was still in love with it. What was very beautiful about knowing that when I served my notice, I'd have to work for 6 months, and that really I would make that decision 6 months earlier, was I had a whole year to use a business where I was leading 10,000 people as a playground to test my hypothesis. I had a whole year to play really, really boldly, and to care so much about my North Star that I didn't give a shit if I made a few mistakes. And so if you're not ready to make a move today, I still invite you to play. I invite you to think about what you might do in the next 90 days that would be a bold play on your part and would help you get ready for the mission that you want to create in the future. And so this is the beginning of anything you want, if you're willing to play with it. And I'd be excited for one to hear, if you come up with the North Star, what it is. So in case I don't get to be in the LinkedIn group, here's my email address. I genuinely would love to hear from you. And thank you for your attention. So what we're going to do now is break you up into breakout groups. And there's just 3 really simple questions for you to play with. The first is from what you've heard in this session from me and from some really talented women out there in business. What comes to your mind immediately? And like I said before, it doesn't matter what you agree with or what you don't. Take this opportunity to be in conversation. And if you're willing, play with this idea. When you think about using up 1% of your 25-year mission, what's the one thing that you're already playing with in your head that you could take on in the next 30 days, that if you did it, it would feel like progress? And then thirdly, how will you make it happen? What would you need? And I'm going to say right now, because I won't get to be in all of your groups, and we'll come back afterwards. Don't pick something that's hard and painful and that you're trying to force yourself into doing. Pick something energizing that you go, yeah, if I had half an hour to spend on that every day or an hour, it would feel like I was really gifting myself something I really, really want to spend time on. So you've got far more chance of you doing that than something that feels super painful and a little bit hard.
Wow, well, that was an incredibly inspiring 90 minutes. I hope you all felt the same. And I'm really starting to think about your North Star, or refining a North Star that you already had. Before we close, we just wanted to say a really huge thank you to all of you for taking the time to join us. And we'll be sending out some more information after today's call. Danielle has provided some more reading and materials that you can follow up with if you're interested in potentially buying or looking at some of the books that she referred to. We'll also be sending a link to the online forum, which we encourage all of you to join. We'll be using that for ongoing communications, for you to speak to people in the Ideas Club, as well as our partners and mentors. And we'll be using that to promote other events and things that are going on. So we encourage you all to join and take part in that. I'd like to give a huge thank you to Danielle for her support today. A really inspiring session. We look forward to welcoming her back to Ideas Club #2 in December. But also a huge thanks to our panelists as well for their input and support that they've given in the run up to today, but also during today as well. Big thank you to all of our partners who have provided support and input in the run up today, during today, and will continue to provide that afterwards. But also I'd like to give a big thanks to the team that have made today happen. A big thank you to Charlene for helping to get today set up. For Hannah, as always, for working her events magic in the background, and Ryan and the creative team for his creative genius skills. And of course the TechX team and Stuart, Natalie and Mariah for all their input and support in the setup and running of today. It's been a huge effort and I'm sure you'll all agree it's been a fantastic event. So thank you to all of you. Before you go, we're going to do a very quick poll. We would love to get your input and feedback. This is the very first Ideas Club that we've ever run. So we've got a couple of questions for you just to make sure that we can continue to make these impactful and value add. So Hannah's going to pop this up. So I'd be grateful if you could provide the feedback. And that will just help us make sure we continue to improve these and make any changes that we need to for the second Ideas Club. And on that note, you'll see on the screen we have our second club coming up on the 1st of December. And Danielle will be presenting at this one as well, looking at work-life balance as an entrepreneur. You must be kidding. So I know there's huge amount of time demands on people that are running their own business. So again, Danielle is going to be sharing some expert advice and insight into what you might be able to do to help in that space. So please use your camera on your phone and the QR code to scan and get the link, or feel free just to visit the OGTC website and go to the TechX area and the Ideas Club space. You can then find the register link there. Lastly, just leaves me to say a huge thank you to all of you for coming along, and for those that have participated. And we're very much looking forward to welcoming you back to Ideas Club #2. So stay safe, everybody. Thanks again and take care.